Tonight, probing the need for an airport in Cape Coast. Residents react to the promise, but what feasibility study concluded that the airport was needed?
500 people write our name and there's nobody attend to us. It's only the bank manager came out and told us that.
For the people of Cape Coast, I have good news for you. We are building a new harbor in Cape Coast and a new airport in Cape Coast. It is very critical that we do that, and it makes a lot of sense in Cape Coast.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Gas and Cement, the nation builder, and Vodafone. The future is exciting, ready. We're also here tonight from an aviation expert and the regional minister as well. It has been one of the major talking points from the MPP manifesto launch this past Saturday. I'm pretty sure you've heard this particular promise.
For the people of Cape Coast, I have good news for you. We are building a new harbor in Cape Coast and a new airport in Cape Coast. It is very critical that we do that, and it makes a lot of sense in Cape Coast.
Well, just a day before this particular announcement, President Akufo-Addo had been on ATL FM in Cape Coast, making the point about an ongoing assessment to determine whether or not Cape Coast really needed an airport. In fact, he made the point that the assessment was ongoing.
Well, the studies are ongoing.
Go ahead. You don't see the need of an airport.
No, I don't see the need. These things, they're not the response of the government should not just be people say we need an airport. The response of the government should be the matter has been thoroughly examined and the need has been established. And that is the process that the Ministry of Aviation is going through. It's doing the same with Koforidua from the region from which I come, which is also another regional location which is very near Accra, another an hour and a half, to be able to decide for ourselves whether in fact the need for the airport can be justified when you have Accra, you have Kumasi, you have Tamale, you have Takoradi, whether on the coast with Accra's presence there's a need for an additional airport.
We'll interrogate shortly where that needs assessment report really is that backed the decision to put an airport then in Cape Coast and what the timelines really are. But today in the central region, as you can imagine, it has been the talk of town. My colleague, Kolonyaku, Central Regional Correspondent, has been gauging the reaction in the region to this.
The New Patriotic Party just left the shores of Cape Coast. In fact, it was here that their 2020 manifesto was launched. They indicated that they had some goodies in there for the people of Cape Coast. They mentioned airports and then they mentioned the harbor. We are here at the famous London Bridge in Cape Coast to gauge the reaction of the people these promises were made to.
Oh, no, your story. Oh, your story.
I've been saying,
and then so what's our group of so fan? Then let's say fan and let's say too short more. And just a baby. Now, Kabusuma and never catch in the airport a baby. Let's say, well, we know I'm in one way, all this one says about a back at China. As soon as you see, you left from right. What did that be later?
So is it that airports in there shall want to me another hub on the want to me?
Master, be there over to my and Chassis no do one the critical one. No, but can in the water. Obey. Oh, yata. Airport to be in Yape. Now you're too short. You don't want to do a story.
Joe Boy just spoke to us. He's indicating that if they had something good for the people of Cape Coast, they would have started during their first term when they were given the mantle. But as it stands now, they do not really trust the airports and then the harbor promise that has been made to them.
Airport and harbor, to me, is good. But if only they can do it. Harbor is good for Cape Coasters. For instance, Tama harbor is now choked. Takoradi is also choked. So when they expand the harbor system to Cape Coast, I think I appreciate that, and that one there we are happy. For the airport, me, Cape Coasters, we need job, work, you understand? So even though they can do the airport, but I am suggesting that they should bring a very big one factory for the youth to be employed. You see, we need to be economically empowered before. But if airport is there, the pockets of people is empty. They can't go for the plane to go to Accra or whatever. You understand? So we are pleading to the government that there should be a very big factory, not the airport. The harbour, we appreciate, let the harbour come.
I would have loved it. It's nice to get an airport in Cape Coast. I don't think the airport is the solution to our problem. We prefer the business. Fine. If they move further from Cape Coast, I think they can get the land and they use the name as Cape Coast International Airport. Fine. Or Cape Coast Airport. Fine. But for Cape Coast, I don't think they have the land to do the airport. Is it fishing harbour or a harbour for a proper business? We have, maybe it might be fishing harbour. Fine. As for that one, I think it can work.
Actually, it's long overdue that we got an airport, if not even a harbour, an airport, because it has really slowed the development in Cape Coast. Taking into consideration Accra, the airport there has given them access to a lot of investors that has opened up the city. If you look at Cape Coast is a big place, but then because there are no investors to invest in faraway lands, we consider them, when we are going to places like that, we consider them like we are traveling. But then in Accra, it's not like that. And it's long overdue, and it is much needed here.
And thankfully, I've just been joined on the telephone line by the Central Regional Minister, Mr. Kwame Duncan. Mr. Duncan, thank you for your time here on Top Story.
Yes, it's a pleasure.
Grateful to have you. I know last week you were with the President when he began his tour of the Central Region, correct?
Correct.
You were possibly with him when he did an interview on ATL FM.
Yes, I was there in the studios with him.
Yes, he was asked a question, and the question was people in Cape Coast needed an airport. His response, to quote him, he says, "This is a place which is 1.5 hours from the capital, which has a major international airport. There is an airport in Takoradi. The studies are ongoing." Where's the report from that study that said it was needed to have one in Cape Coast?
Yeah, first, good evening to you and good evening to your cherished listeners. Evans, you are saying that if the President had the report, necessarily as a minister, regional minister, I also have it. Indeed, the President has a lot of sectors of the economy working to him. And he, where he sits, will be privy. And indeed, we know the things which are going on. And that will not be the same as a regional minister. So when the President says that you need first to do examination, he was only pointing it out that you do assessment, economic impacts, and all of those before you arrive at a decision. And unfortunately, I don't know whether it is the line we're going to go. Unfortunately, some have decided to go on a certain trajectory of propaganda stance that the President was not forthright in saying that, yes, Cape Coast was going to have an airport, and yet 2 days later, I think a day later, the Vice President announced that that Cape Coast was going to have an airport. When the question was posed to him that, Mr. President, Cape Coast and Central Region, that we are touted as a heartbeat of tourism. And so if you had an airport, they said, you have to do an examination.
Yes, I mean, my question was, when the President said he had to do an examination, and he says the studies are ongoing, my question was, between Friday and Saturday, can you tell us if that study was available and had indeed recommended that the airport was feasible?
The studies were ongoing, did imply that between Friday and Saturday, that was when the studies were completed and a decision made
and captured in the manifesto. His point was clear that you don't come to a position just by calls that people are making. For every decision that a responsible government takes, especially when you are talking about an airport where the closest or the closer ones are not far away from you by way of road transport, you would have to consider all factors. And if, after considering all those factors, the need becomes firm that this place needs an airport, so be it.
Has that been done? Has that been done? What you just stated, has that been done?
Yes, that is why it was announced in the manifesto. That is why the Vice President, and take note of this, that the President wouldn't indeed have done all of us good if the manifesto, which has not been spoken to, has not been reviewed by those who had been lined up to do the sessional reviews, and eventually the person who was made to chair the committee, and he had been charged by National Council to make the major highlights of the manifesto. If the President had gone ahead to make an announcement, then there wouldn't even be the fanfare. People would not be waiting anxiously to know what was in the manifesto. So it was not proper that the President, before the manifesto was launched, was going to say that, okay, we're going to have. Then already the cat has been let out of the bag. But he was only making the interviewer and the general public who are listening that, yes, a government would have to make a decision. But the responsible one does the decision when they have considered all the factors. So he also added that it is not only Cape Coast that this consideration is being made, that his own home region, where Koforidua is the capital, this consideration is also ongoing.
True. Have you seen, as a regional minister, have you seen the report of this from this study?
Report that no, this is aviation ministry. When the aviation ministry does its work, they don't refer the work to us. They refer the work to cabinet. They refer the work to president. Okay. And regional ministers are not members of cabinet.
I'm just asking you because you were categorical that the studies has been done. I'm wondering whether you've seen it.
No, I'm saying that if the studies has not been done, the Vice President will not make that program. That the committee, the manifesto committee, will not have captured it in the manifesto.
Okay, so safe to say your position that has been done is based on the assumption, of course, once it's in there, they must have done it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, this is a major decision to get an airport in Cape Coast.
But you admit that would be an assumption only. At this stage, you admit that would be an assumption that they, in fact, did the studies and the outcome led to the inclusion in the manifesto.
Well, it's not an assumption. I believe that the manifesto committee, in capturing whichever project that they sought to do, would have first given a thought with. I mean, it will not just be a surface kind of thing that, oh, this is a certain fancy one that will indeed get the people to look in our way, and so let's just capture it there. They would have first considered the visibility, whether if it was done, how is it going to impact on the people, how is it going to get the city, and for that matter, the region, integrated into the national economy. You see, transportation, when you consider it in a way that integrates a city or a region into a national economy, that is how you bring development to the doorstep of that particular city or that particular region. So the manifesto committee wouldn't have just, for the joy of it, have captured this airport without giving it a further thought. So proper thought, as the president was talking about, had gone into it before they finally arrived at the decision of capturing it in the manifesto.
So what specific elements then, and you live there, you are a minister, you've been there for a while, you were the party's leader in the region before you became a minister, justify the placement of an airport in Cape Coast?
Everything justifies it. Evans, this, in my view, is a game changer. And for me, it's good that yourself and your partner have held on to this matter and become the lead topic in this manifesto launch. What it means is that it is crystallizing the thoughts of the people of the region, and especially also of government, that you know too well in the thoughts of public, the election results, and specifically where the central regions eventually got where is really far. for this party in office to make this promise, it looks at the implications. And what that means is that they're not going to toy with the implications of not fulfilling such a major promise that stands a good stead to turn the fortunes of the central region. So for me, I'm happy as a minister that the party has committed itself to doing this in the second round, in the next term. So if that was done, what it means is this, that if I wanted to go to Tamale, I wanted to go to Wa, you will not find me go by road to Accra and get locked up in traffic in Accra before I finally find myself at Kotoka and then fly. But that, right here in Cape Coast, I'm able to fly direct to Tamale or to Wa. What it also means is this, that thousands and thousands of tourists every year, and there's no doubt about the core role, the heartbeat position of the central region, the tourism industry. No doubt about it. No region compares, because you have all the historical sites here. And so thousands and thousands and thousands of tourists who come in every day, and usually do so by road, and sometimes very debilitating traffic conditions and all of that on road. If this airport was here, all they do is that they come direct by flight. It means that we get many who will come in here, and by coming in, they will come and spend and boost the tourism industry, which then becomes the rallying point for our development as
I just proved up the Ghana Poverty Mapping Report, the Ghana Living Standard Survey, and all of them still highlight the central region as one of the poorest in this country, where basic needs like water, sanitation is still an issue. You say that against that backdrop, spending millions of dollars on an airport is still a priority?
So, but Evans, who tells you that government is building an airport, we say that, look, I'm channeling the resources which otherwise would have gone into...
There's something called opportunity cost, Honorable Minister. You spend millions, there's something called opportunity cost, you know this. You spend millions of dollars to make an airport, that is millions of dollars less to fix the basic needs in water and sanitation that the Ghana Poverty Mapping Report, for example, talks about for the sector region.
I was advancing, and you just cut me. I'm saying that government in bringing this project is not going to say that, look, I'm channeling resources into building an airport for you, and therefore I'm stopping on the front of assisting in water delivery. For your information, the last three years, Central Region, in fact, for the last 40 years or so, no government has come in its first term has been able to deliver water, potable water, to as many as 8 districts and accessed by over 150,000 people. The records are clearly there. If you go to Community Water and Sanitation Agency, in fact, about a month ago, the president was here to commission this water project. And so, in putting this there, it is the development point that we seek to get investors to come in. If an investor was coming in, investor must have easy way of movement, easy transport, and all transport is one of such ways by which an area can be developed. So I have the feeling that this manifesto is a central region manifesto. This is the one that the president, his government, seek to lift the central region and empower it economically. So for me, as a minister, I am a very happy person, and the people in the region, because as I've already indicated, it is not the kind where the party in office will begin to toy with such a major promise and then withdraw from it. And while they know too well that they will not toy with it, it means that this will get done. And if it gets done, Evans, I tell you, in the next 5-10 years, you will not be talking about Central Region as one of the 4 regions in the country.
Final clarity on the position expressed by the president, and of course you've explained that yes, he may have known, but he didn't want to let it cast it to the back. But 2 things come up there. He didn't disclose, of course, whether or not it will be manifesto. He chose to talk about the feasibility studies. Before Saturday, did the president know that the feasibility studies was complete?
Well, Evans, you are stretching me. That
no, I mean it's simple. If you don't know, you can tell me you don't know. I mean,
as a minister, how would I know what the president means?
You can tell.
Evans, I mean, as a media minister, I wouldn't know what the president goes. And I'll tell you where he sits. He has all the channels leading up to him, but he was just answering the question that, look, to establish an airport, those that will be charged, even in considering establishing an airport, we will take factors like how long is it from Cape Coast to Accra? How long is it from by road? I mean,
from
Cape Coast to
Accra, that is what, 2 hours?
So we was only preparing our minds that any committee or anybody charged to look at establishing an airport in Cape Coast would bring all of these factors on board.
Yeah, okay.
And when they have done all of that and weigh it against the benefits thereof and decide that, look, in putting all the pieces together, the comparative analysis and all of that,
the need
come to the conclusion that
just for the sake of time, there's another major plank of the promise to the central region, which is a harbour. Clarify for me. Is this a fishing harbour or it's a type of harbour that we see in Tema? What clarity is there? Do you have that yet?
Well, I must be frank with you that whether it is a general purpose harbour or it is a fishing harbour, as was captured in the manifesto, is harbour. And these are a manifesto. If anybody thought that you're going to have all the fine details, then I'm sure you'll be coming up with a book that nobody will be able to carry. So these are broad thematic areas, and so the details, the nitty-gritty going forward will all be rolled out, and so that's going to become clear. But whether it is even a fishing harbour, I'm taking the lesser one and not a general purpose harbour. Even if it was that one, you know the potential that holds for Cape Coast and its fishing industry. What it means is that it's not just going to be the usual artisanal canoes. It means that you're going to have even bigger trawlers and all of that could come in and discharge their catch. And it will also mean that several facilities that will come along and the potential of creation of jobs for the people within the catchment area and its consequential effect, not only in the coastal area, but far into the hinterland. So, whichever way, whether you want to see it as fishing harbour or even general purpose harbour, big harbour, whichever way it is, it has a major impact.
I got to say, Mr. Kwabena, Duncan, that you didn't have an inkling about what was going to be said about your region before we all headed together, watching the ceremony on Saturday. Is that what happened?
We as a government, we have had the general discussions, but as to the specifics that this, that one we are not letting, but the general discussion about going forward into round 2, the thing that government will do to consolidate the achievement. Because all these are intended to consolidate the achievement. Those we had discussions around them, but the specifics, as have been clearly captured in the manifesto. I mean, I'll be taken for a liar if I told you that yes, I knew about them. I'm
grateful that you joined me. Jimmy Coutin also joins us. Remember that there was a massive protest in the central region. People threatening no airport, no vote. He was the leader of that particular campaign, the no airport, no vote. Joins us on the telephone line right now. Jimmy Coutin, I'm grateful that you could join me. So you have what you clamored for. What's your reaction to the promise that has been made and the way it has been couched?
Evans, thank you for having me. I am one of the leaders. I'm not the main leader. And secondly, we don't have what we've asked for. What we have now is a promise that what we clamored for will be given to the good people of Cape Coast.
Isn't that enough? I mean, that's what you get, a promise, before it becomes a reality.
No, it's not enough. I mean, it's a process, isn't it? So we are going to follow the process with keen interest. This is the first stage. For the first time, one of the major political parties has made that commitment that yes, indeed, after over 100 years of talking about an airport in Cape Coast, we are finally going to, hit the ground running and get this airport for the good people of Cape Coast. So we'll be following the process to ensure that it's not only talk.
How much faith do you have in the promise that you've received?
We are taking one day at a time, Evans, and this is what I mean. It's early days yet. We need to flesh out what exactly this airport is going to look like, the kind of facilities that are going to be needed to put it in place, where is it going to be sited, when is the project starting. All of these details are not yet out. I would want to think that the current government is going to have spokespersons for specific thematic areas in their manifesto, and they will be giving us final details, and we'll be engaging them as the time goes, as the time moves on, so that we understand exactly what they mean by an airport for Cape Coast, whether it tallies with what we want to do or what we envision for Cape Coast, and see the way forward, Evans.
Well, Jimmy, thank you very much, and that's a view there from those who had clamored for this. They're going to keep an eye on this and see it to the point where they could call it an actual airport. Let's gauge this with an aviation expert who joins us on the telephone line right now. Dr. Yakubu Akparibo is an aerospace medicine physician and the medical director of CareFlight Ghana. Thank you, sir, for your time, Doc. So tell me, you've heard the promise. In deciding to situate an airport in your profession, what do you consider?
Yeah.
What elements?
Yeah. Good evening, Evans, and good evening to your listeners, and then thank you for having me. Just to say that I have no any conflict of interest to declare and grant this interview. Yeah, so let's get back to the main issue. So in siting an airport, there are several factors that you need to consider. There are economic reasons, there are safety issues, and then also recreational reasons. So if I take the first one, economic reasons, you want to find out if maybe there are business people who live in Cape Coast or Accra and they need to shuttle to and fro, and then they need to maybe catch some business meetings within the shortest possible time. So that is one of the factors. The second one is, are these people connecting internationally through Accra to Cape Coast? Because you need to have if you have so many people who come into the country in Accra and they have to travel to Cape Coast, they want to have budget airlines that can shuttle connecting flights to transport those passengers. So if you look at all these reasons, you rightly stated in the survey that you just cited, we don't have so many business from Cape Coast. That is not feasible. Now, the other issue that I listened to the minister said, he's concentrating more on this economic issue because he's thinking about commercial aviation. If you look at the current aircraft that Africa World Airlines uses, they use the Embraer aircraft. Now, that aircraft has a maximum speed of about 300 to 350 knots, which is 900 kilometers per hour. Now, the distance from Cape Coast to Accra is about 150 kilometers. So if you want to use the small one that Africa World even has to do this kind of journey, it's going to pose a safety issue because you're looking at about 10 minutes of travel time, which is not feasible. Now, if you look at the safety issues, is the Accra airport so congested with flights that we need maybe a second runway, which is not possible? So you want to look at maybe the nearest city and then have an airport there to reroute international flights. That is not also the reason, because the current volume that the airport handles is not at the capacity that I would say is congested, Now, the other part that government, I think, should have looked at is the recreational aspect, commercial, general aviation. General aviation is individuals having small aircraft, and then they just want to fly for fun. So you take off from Accra, go to Cape Coast, and then come back. That's what we call general aviation. So I take a city like Dayton, where I live in the United States. Dayton has about 3 airports. The 3 airports, Dayton International is the major one for commercial flights. The other 2 airports are the Wright Brothers Airport and then the Moreland Airport. Now, those ones are the ones that we use to fly our small aircraft. So we just take off from one point to the other and then return just for the fun of it. Now, if you have an airport, you need to maintain it. the airports that are just cited in Beaton, like the Wright brothers and Maureen, the money that they get to maintain those ones, the hangars there, if we park our Wright aircraft there, we pay $100 per month, you know, and that's the revenue. And then they have like a fuel bouncer there that we buy fuel and all that.
Final question on this. Based on all the elements that you've laid out, having an airport in Cape Coast, is it viable?
No, it's not feasible at all. Looking at all the three reasons that I've enumerated, it's not viable. Let me just add a final one. Look at London, the city of London. The city of London has about 4 or 5 airports. Like, so I'll use Stansted and then Heathrow. You don't see an aircraft. The distance between Stansted and Heathrow is about 100. It is almost like the distance from Accra to Cape Coast. You don't see an aircraft taking off from Heathrow and then landing in Stansted with passengers. No, unless there's a safety issue that the aircraft needs to be diverted. You know, so you establish small aircraft that way, so that if you have routes like Stansted, Ryanair uses that as their base. So they fly to some of the European cities around. Is that the same that we have the situation we have in Ghana here? No, Cape Coast is not like a major hub that you can fly to Abuja or like other cities.
Well, Doc, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for your input in this. Dr. Yakubu Karibo is the aerospace medicine physician and medical director of the Care Flight Ghana. What do you make of this? If you especially live in the central region, I want to hear from you. 0244340437. Christmas is coming early for all Vodafone Cash subscribers. Your secured and convenient Vodafone Cash is the only network offering you a chance to send money to all networks via Vodafone Cash free of charge. Yes, you heard me right, free. No other network can give you such an amazing offer except Vodafone Cash. Just send any amount to loved ones as many times as you want on any network without paying any charge, zero. So what are you waiting for? Make payment, show your love, make contributions, and send money all you want via Vodafone Cash to all networks for free. Dial *1110# to send money for free. Ready. Still ahead here on Newsnight. Growing insecurity. We'll hear from the NDC running mate, Jane Nana Poko Ejiman, who has been taking on the system, asking the security agencies to do more to safeguard Ghana's stability.
It is shocking, some of the things that are happening in the country, and it is clear that these killings and violent acts are getting out of hand.
We'll also bring you details about the freshly approved Security and Intelligence Agencies Bill 2020 to set up complaints tribunal to deal with abuses by intelligence agencies. Also tonight, National Tenants Union questions feasibility of the National Rental Assistance Scheme, saying the policy will disadvantage the poorest of the Ghanaian society in the informal sector.
What about those, the informal sector? They must come clear to tell us if they have an open policy whereby in future or as we move on, they integrate the poorest of the poor in the community to benefit.
Your projects cannot be located. Opposition NDC demands answers from the government as it describes as misleading and dishonest claims of 17,000 projects undertaken by the Akufo-Addo government.
The presentation Ghanaians were fed with by the failed economic messiah turned misadvertisation, who has earned the dubious reputation of engaging in the worst kind of deception and political chicanery, Dr. Bawumia, lacked candor.
We'll fact check some of the claims by the NDC tonight. Also, hundreds of JHS candidates across the country served jollof rice as government fulfills one hot meal a day promise.
It tastes good, very good. Even the egg is added and it's hot. Can't you see I'm sweating?
I'd like to thank Mr. President for providing us this hot meal.
And in business, some enterprises faces imminent collapse over surge in cyber attacks as more firms go virtual because of COVID-19 restrictions.
You want to stay with us for all that and more, and later years of struggle over water comes to an end in Domiabra as Promacedo Ghana Limited builds boreholes for the Eastern Regional Community. We have details for you. Stay with us.